Margaret wrapped the gift slowly, silver paper smooth under her fingers, a bright blue ribbon tied neatly on top. She placed a small card on it and held it close for a moment, breathing in the faint scent of the paper and the ribbon, imagining the smile it might bring. Driving through the morning traffic, she stared at the box in her lap, sunlight glinting off the ribbon. She thought about the years she'd baked cookies for birthdays, saved for school trips, covered bills quietly so no one noticed, and bought toys for a little boy she loved more than words could hold. She had given and given, hoping no one would forget, hoping love would be enough. Pulling up to Emily's house, she parked the car and took a slow breath. The house looked festive, balloons tied to the porch railing, the smell of baking drifting faintly in the air. She stepped out, holding the gift carefully. Her hand hovered over the door before knocking. Emily opened it, and Margaret saw the surprise flicker briefly across her daughter's face before it vanished. "Oh, Mom, I didn't expect you today. Come in, maybe later." Margaret's lips pressed together. She held the gift up, gently. "I brought something for Lucas. Thought I'd drop it off before the party." From behind, Dan's polite smile was sharp, like a blade. "Oh, that's nice. You didn't have to, really." Margaret's chest tightened. She stepped inside anyway, keeping the gift close, as if holding her own heart. Lucas ran into the living room, his eyes lighting up when he saw her. "Grandma," he exclaimed, rushing toward her. Margaret knelt, holding him in a quick embrace. "Hi, sweetheart, I brought something for you." Dan stepped forward, hands subtly blocking the path. "Oh, that's just a little thing. He doesn't need it now." Lucas frowned, confusion and disappointment crossing his small face. Margaret felt a sting in her chest, deep and hot. She set the gift on the table, close enough for Lucas to see, far enough from Dan. The day went on in tense quiet. Margaret watched Lucas playing, trying to be cheerful, while Emily laughed nervously at Dan's jokes. She could feel the weight of all the years she'd given, all the invisible sacrifices, pressing down on her. Every cookie baked, every bill paid, every quiet night spent making life easier for them, ignored. She found herself retreating into memories as she prepared the gift for him. She remembered the tiny shoes she had bought for Lucas's first steps, the way she'd stayed late to fix Emily's college application essays, the quiet nights she'd watched over their little home, covering bills and making sure no one noticed how thin things had been. She had been present in the shadows, always giving, never asking, never claiming her place. That evening, after the party guests had arrived and laughter filled the room, Margaret picked up the gift, turning it over in her hands. She could see the hurt in Lucas's eyes every time he glanced at it, unanswered. She felt her own voice inside her head, calm but firm. She had brought the gift for love, not permission. She knelt again and placed it gently in Lucas's hands. "Here you go, sweetheart," she said softly. Lucas's eyes widened, and a huge smile spread across his face. He tore the paper with small, eager hands. "Wow, Grandma, thank you." Margaret felt warmth spread through her chest. Emily's eyes dropped to the floor, guilty, while Dan shifted awkwardly, clearly unsettled. Margaret rose slowly, straightening her back. The gift had been given. Love had been shared. That was enough. Driving home later, Margaret stared through the windshield at the city lights reflecting on the asphalt. She sipped a cup of tea, feeling the weight of her past sacrifices lift slightly. She knew she didn't need approval anymore. She had done what mattered. She had shown love when it was deserved, and held boundaries when it was needed. She felt a quiet pride, a soft peace that only comes from knowing you acted with your heart intact. Sitting in her small apartment, she placed the empty cup on the counter and smiled. She opened a small notebook, writing a line to herself. "Sometimes giving isn't about recognition. Sometimes it's about love." Margaret leaned back in her chair, the quiet of the evening wrapping around her. She didn't need anyone's applause. She had given. She had been seen, if only by one small boy who knew exactly how much she cared. And that was enough. Margaret wrapped the small silver box with care, tying a bright blue ribbon around it and adding a handwritten card. She had spent weeks saving for this, wanting to give Lucas a gift that meant something, a promise, a piece of love she could hold in her hands. She placed the gift in her bag and stared at it in the car, sunlight glinting off the ribbon, imagining the smile it might bring. The drive to Emily's house was quiet, heavy with anticipation. Memories drifted through her mind. The birthdays she had baked cookies for, the bills she had quietly covered, the little moments she had sacrificed herself for this family. She had given everything, yet sometimes it felt like no one noticed. When she knocked on the door, Emily opened it, smiling nervously. Mom, I didn't expect you today. Come in, maybe later. Margaret held the gift up. I brought something for Lucas. Thought I'd drop it off before the party. Dan appeared behind Emily, polite but sharp. Oh, that's nice. You didn't have to, really. Margaret stepped inside anyway, holding the gift close. Lucas ran toward her, eyes wide with excitement. She knelt, handing him the box gently. Here, sweetheart, she said softly. Dan's voice cut through the air. Oh, that's just a little thing. He doesn't need it now. Lucas frowned, confused. Margaret's chest tightened, but she stayed calm. She watched as he hesitated, disappointment flickering across his face. For a moment, she felt invisible, her years of love and sacrifice unnoticed, ignored. She remembered all the times she had been quietly present, giving when it wasn't acknowledged, protecting them from the hardships they never had to see. And now, the gift, the symbol of that love, sat on the table, untouched. Margaret stepped back, letting Lucas linger near it, her heart heavy with quiet sadness. She realized then that giving without acknowledgement had become a habit as the party went on. Margaret's hands rested on her lap, her eyes following Lucas as he played, the silver box still on the table. Emily laughed at Dan's jokes, unaware of the tension in the room. Margaret thought about the years she had given quietly, school trips, birthdays, little repairs, bills she covered silently. Every act had been an unspoken promise of love. Yet now, all that care felt invisible. She leaned closer to Lucas, smiling gently. Lucas, you can open this. His eyes lit up, and he tore the paper quickly, revealing the gift. Wow, Grandma, thank you. Margaret felt warmth spreading through her chest, a quiet satisfaction that no one else could give her. Emily looked down, a mix of guilt and embarrassment, while Dan shifted uneasily, clearly unsettled by the simple joy of a child. Driving home later, Margaret reflected on the day. She realized she didn't need anyone's approval to give love. She had done what mattered, and that was enough. Sitting in her small apartment, she placed her empty teacup on the counter and wrote a note to herself. Sometimes giving isn't about recognition. Sometimes it's about love. She leaned back in her chair, letting the quiet of the evening wash over her. She had been seen, even if only by the one person who mattered most at that moment. And that, finally, was enough.